Hi, welcome back. We're in the kitchen, and today we're going to make pasta and sauce. We're also going to add meatballs, which is optional for you, and a salad, also optional, but we'll go over that in the process. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get all the utensils out that we need for this meal. And you're going to need, first of all, you're going to need a large pot. A large pot to cook the pasta in. And so I have a large pot here, and I'm actually going to get a lid for that. You don't have to have a lid for that, but it does make reaching temperature with the pasta, with the water, easier if you do have a lid for that while the water boils. So I have a lid for my pot. If you don't have one for yours, you can still carry on without that. The next thing you're going to need is a small pot for your sauce to heat up in. And so I'm going to find a small pot for my stove. I have one right here, and that's going to be for my sauce, and I'll add meatballs to that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The next thing we're going to need is a strainer. When we're done with the pasta, we have to pour the pasta out and let the water go down the sink, so we'll need a strainer for that. I have a strainer right here. Okay, strainer, large pot, small pot for the sauce, and a few other things we're going to need. We're going to get a measuring cup. A measuring cup that's going to help us measure our water and our pasta. So a measuring cup gets added to that. And then the final thing you're going to need for our meal here is a wooden spoon or a large spoon. So these are the things you're going to need if you want to pause right now and get these items: a strainer, a large pot with a lid, a small pot for the sauce, a measuring cup, and a wooden spoon. You can pause it now and get the things you need. Okay, so you have your utensils that you're going to use for this meal, and let's get them a little bit out of our way. Let's take our strainer. I'm going to put this over near my sink because that's where I'm going to be using it later. I'm going to take my pot for my water, and I'm also going to put that over near my sink because I'm going to fill that up in a few minutes with water. The saucepan I'm going to put off to the side, and these items I'll also put off to the side. I don't need those right now. Right now I'm going to get the food out that I need for this meal. Let's start with our pasta. I have a penne pasta, which I'm going to be using today. We're going to be making the meal for 2 people, so we'll try and portion it based on what 2 people will be dining on. And so we'll use penne pasta for that. And then I'm going to need some sauce. I'm going to get my sauce here, which was in the jar, ready to go. And so we'll use our sauce and our pasta. The next few things we're going to need, the next ones are kind of optional, but I have meatballs, so now of course I didn't make these meatballs. They are frozen meatballs, and the important thing is they're already cooked. They're pre-cooked and frozen, so all I'm going to do is heat them up later and put them in my sauce, but we'll talk about that later, and that's optional. And then the last thing I need is my salad, which I have a Caesar salad kit. And here is my salad kit. It has lettuce and dressing and croutons in there. Now, it's important to say, to make this meal, you need these 2 items, and these 2 items are optional. So if you're going to have meatballs with your pasta, that's your choice. You don't have to. And the salad is also your choice. However, I'm going to give you a moment. If you need to pause this for a moment to get what you need to make this meal, now's a good time to hit pause and then get what you need. And then when you're ready, hit play and we'll get started. Okay, so let's get started making pasta with sauce. I'm going to take these 2 items and I'm going to slide them out of my way. And these I'm going to cook with these in a moment. But first I need to get my water going. So I'm going to come around here. And I'm going to take my measuring cup to make this process easier, we're going to use our measuring cup, and we're going to fill our pot with water. All right, and I have a this measuring cup. I think we can see it. Let's see, the numbers here are like, it fills up to 2.5 cups. But I'm gonna put 10 cups of water into my pot. All right, so basically I'm gonna fill it. I'm going to fill it right up to the 2-cup mark. All right, and you can fill it faster, but I'm filling it nice and slow so that you can see. Okay, so it fills up to 2 cups. Now I'm just going to do this 5 times. That's 1. And I can speed it up a little bit. That's 2. That's 3. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of... This is our 4th fill. Going up to 2 cups. And then I'm going to do that one more time. So there you go, right about 2 cups, right? And pour that in there. And that's 10 cups of water that I'm going to put on the stove and get started so it can boil. All right, so I'm going to bring that over to my stove. I'm going to put it on this front burner. And I'm going to set my heat to high on this. Now I have, of course I have a gas flame, but you may not. You might have an electric range, and that's fine, just set it to high. And I'm also going to set the timer on my stove to 8 minutes. So I'm going to let that water boil for 8 minutes right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lid on there. Now, you may have a lid for your pot, and that might help it boil a little faster. You might not, and that's okay too. But anyway, I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to let that sit there for 8 minutes. And while that's happening, I'm going to turn my attention to my pasta sauce. Okay? Now I have a jar of pasta sauce, and I'm not going to go to a lot of trouble to decide how much pasta sauce I need. I'm okay if I have a little extra. So I'm just going to open the pasta sauce, and I'm going to pour that whole jar in there. Pour the whole jar right in. Okay? And this, I'm going to heat up on the stove very slowly. So come on around here. And this one I'm going to put on the back burner, right back here. All right. And I'm going to turn this not on high. I'm going to turn this one, this is my back burner here. I'm going to turn that on low heat. Okay? So I'm going to put that on low heat because it's just heating up. I'm not really cooking that sauce. It's just warming up. So it's warm enough when I'm ready to eat. So I put that on a low heat on the back. And that's just going to warm up while I'm cooking my pasta. So it just sits there to warm up. And so now we've got about 7 minutes left till our water is boiled, and we're going to add our pasta to that. But while that's happening, on the back, we have our pasta sauce heating up on low heat, just getting warm. Okay, so really, if you don't want to add anything else to this meal, you can just work with pasta without meatballs. Sauce without meatballs, and your pasta on this side. But we're going to do some additional stuff here. So let's talk about meatballs for a minute, okay? Come on over here. So I'm making this meal for 2 people, and I bought meatballs in the frozen section that are already cooked. That's important. And so I'm going to add. I'm going to put 3 meatballs per person. I'm making it for 2 people, so I'm going to put 6 meatballs in to my pasta sauce. But before I put them directly in, I'm going to heat them up in the microwave. Now they're already cooked, so no worry for them getting cooked in this process, but you don't want them to be ice cold or frozen either. So we're going to heat them in the microwave, and then put them in our sauce. So you will need a microwave-safe bowl, and I have one right here, okay? So you'll need a microwave-safe bowl. Now, I'm gonna put 6 meatballs in this bowl, and I'm gonna put it in my microwave for 1.5 minutes, okay? So let me open up my meatballs. And I'm just going to put 6 meatballs in here. That's that. 1, 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Oop, one more jumped in. Let's see. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm planning on each person having 3 meatballs with their meal. These are beef meatballs. You can also get turkey meatballs that are pre-cooked, but it's important that the meatballs you get are already cooked, so you just heat them up and put them in your sauce. So that is my meatballs, and I'll take care of that in a minute. But let me put these in the microwave. And I'm going to put them in the microwave for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay, so those are just going to warm up for 1 minute and 30 seconds in the microwave. And when they're warmed up, then I'm going to put them in my sauce. Now, things are heating up over here, so I am going to get some pot holders. Can't find them yet. Okay, because I don't want to burn my hands in the process. So after these heat up, I'm just going to take them out, and I'm going to pour them into my sauce, making sure I have a pot holder on my hand to keep it safe. Now it's important that you know this is an option. You don't have to do this, but if you want meatballs with your meal, it's a nice way to add protein to this meal, and this is the best way to do it. Is buy them frozen, heat them up, throw them in the sauce. Okay, so they're just about done. And I am going to get my pot holder on. That's my timer. Alright, so I'm going to open this up, and with my pot holder hand, I'm going to take my meatballs out. Okay, and now I don't know if you can pick up a little steam coming off them because they're all warmed up. Now, they are not frozen meatballs anymore. They are cooked, or they're already cooked, but now they're heated up nice and warm. And so, not that complicated. I'm just going to pour them into my sauce here. In they go, nice and gentle. Okay, and I will put this over here. And I'm going to get my wooden spoon now. Put that in play here. Okay, and I'll put my pot holder on my hand here. Hold this. I'm just going to sort of stir those in so the meatballs are nice and just taking a bath in that warm sauce right there. Alright, and I'm going to rest my spoon over here on the side so I can use my spoon to stir my sauce. I can also use that spoon to stir my pasta. Let's talk about pasta for a second. So, I'm going to put my meatballs away. And then we're going to look at our pasta plan. Okay. So, our pasta, now, the box suggests less than a cup is a serving size. I don't think that's realistic, certainly not for myself and for the person I'm dining with. So I'm actually going to make a 2-cup serving size. If we have a little more pasta than we need, that's fine. If we don't have enough, I don't want folks feeling like they didn't get enough to eat. So what I'm going to do, now I've opened up my pasta, I have penne pasta, I like it because these penne pastas or like elbow pastas, they fit into the measuring cups a lot easier than trying to work with spaghetti, you know. So these make it a little more user friendly. Now I'm going to use my measuring cup from before. Okay, that's my timer. Come on over here while we're talking. Now that timer is just telling me that my pasta's been boiling for 8 minutes. Let's take a look at it. Let's see how it's doing. You can see the small bubbles forming in there, and it's heating up nicely. And while I work with my pasta, I'm going to leave a lid on that, okay? Because it'll wait for us. It's doing just fine, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2 cups of pasta for each person, all right? And so I'm just going to pour my pasta. Whoa. That's right at the two cup mark, right? And so that's going to be for one person. Now remember, I'm making this for 2, so I'm going to come over here and put this in here. So you have my oven mitted hand. I'm going to lift my lid. And I'm going to pour in my pasta. Okay, all right. And now I'm going to take my lid and put it out of the way. And I'm going to get a second cup of, or 2 cups of pasta here. That's for one person. I'm going to make enough for 2. So let's see. I want to make sure my. Okay. So there's 2 cups of pasta. Now it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. Just kind of get it close and you're good. Okay. And I'm going to add that 2 cups of pasta. So now I have 4 cups of pasta in there. 4 cups because we have 2 people dining. So I want to have enough for everybody to have a decent plate of pasta. And I'm going to put this off to the side. And I'm going to give my pasta a little stir. Okay. Get that stirred in there. And now I'm going to set my timer to 8 minutes again. So I'm going to go timer, 8, and start. Okay, so now just to recap what's going on, we've got 2 burners going on. One at the front, boiling our pasta at the front, set to high, and one at the back, set to low, and this one has our meatballs in it if you decide to add meatballs, and it's warming up our sauce. Meatballs are optional. If you don't want them, they can just heat the sauce up, and that's fine too. Okay? So that's what's going on our stove right here. And then while those things are going on, I'm going to look at our salad plan. So come on over here. Put this away. Now, that stove, now I'm going to stay in the kitchen and be near the stove and keeping an eye and ear on things, but those things are cooking just fine, so I can turn my attention to thinking about salad. And so I have a salad kit. This is just the easiest way to make salad, and so what we're going to need to do this is a salad bowl, or some kind of a bowl you can make salad in. Right there. Okay. And so, again, this is an optional item, but a nice salad, a good roughage, and get some of your roughage in with your meal. It's good for your digestion, and good for your health. So when I open this kit up, it's a Caesar salad kit, and I have the Caesar salad dressing there, and the croutons in here. This is sort of, I pulled that aside. And the rest of what's in here is just it's that lettuce. So I pour that lettuce into my bowl, and if there's anything that looks a little off in color or brown, I pick that out. It all looks pretty good actually. I'm trying to have good dates on my salads so they're not getting kind of old. And so that's our salad. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up our kit here with our croutons and our salad dressing. Okay. And we can just open up our croutons and add them to our salad. I'm going to get 2 large spoons that I'll use just to kind of move my salad around a little bit, toss the salad, and it's moving the croutons around in the bowl, kind of using it, kind of like the claw game, you know, you're kind of using it like 2 claws in the claw game, and you're kind of lifting it and letting it drop it back into the bowl, because then the croutons can mix around in that salad, okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my dressing. And we're going to add the dressing and do the same thing, or we do the claw game thing, the same trick to mix around the dressing with the croutons. And so I'm going to cut that top off, and I'm just going to put the dressing on. Okay. Now you can pick how much dressing you put on. You can put all of it or some of it. I like to put on some of it, not all of it, in case people don't want that much dressing on their salad. And if people want more, there's always a little more to put in there. So I'm just going to take my spoons and I'm going to kind of lift it and kind of just, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of pitching, just like the claw game is the best way I can describe it. I'm just kind of bringing those together and then mixing that dressing in with the croutons and in with the lettuce. And so I'm just kind of lifting it and dropping it back into the same bowl. I think a larger bowl than I have might be a better utensil for this, but I used what I had. So if you have a bigger bowl, it might be an easier process, but I can get it done, and then my salad is actually, now it is ready. So my salad is ready while everything else is cooking. That got done. So I'm going to put that aside, okay, and do a little cleaning up. I'm going to see what time I have left on my other items. So come on over here. We have 3 minutes left on our timer here, and you can see we've got a nice rolling boil going on with our pasta. And I'm going to take my spoon here, and I'm going to just stir a bit of that pasta so that it's getting nice and cooked all around and all over. It doesn't get clumped together if I stir it a little bit. I'll take that same spoon and I'll also stir my sauce, which is just warming up in the back over here. My meatballs are in there. I'm not doing a big stir. I'm just moving things around so that the sauce kind of rotates in the warmth, and so do the meatballs. And then I can get the little bit of sauce off of that. Okay, so that's stirred up and warming. This is stirred up and cooking. We've got a few minutes left. Perfect time now with a few minutes left to talk about the next step. The next step in a few minutes when our timer goes off is we have to strain the pasta out of the boiling water. It's important that we do this very carefully, that we make sure that we're not going to burn ourselves with boiling water. So what I like to do is I like to put the strainer into my sink, but I do like to make sure a few things. One, I like to make sure my sink is empty, and two, I like to make sure the stopper is out of my sink, because I don't want to strain the pasta into the sink and then have the hot water just stay in that sink. So I like to get the stopper out of the sink, so when the hot water, the boiling water goes through the pasta, it goes right down the sink. It's not held up in my sink at all, because we want to get that boiling water away from us so we're safe. Okay, and we've got a few minutes left on our boil here, And you can see it's all dancing around like a hot tub over here. It's a pasta hot tub. And I was working with one pot holder before. I'm gonna have two pot holders. This is a little one. I have two pot holders for this process, just to make sure we're perfectly safe. My timer's going off. I'm gonna turn off my timer. Turns off my timer. Okay. Now, I'm gonna do a few things here. I'm gonna turn off the heat under my pasta and meatball, my sauce and my meatballs. I'm gonna turn that right off. So that is off right now. Make sure that that's turned off because we don't want to leave it on and forget about it. So right now the pasta sauce is off. Now our pasta is still boiling away over here, and we're going to take care of that in a minute, but I do want to check to make sure I'm happy with my pasta. So what I'm going to do is take my spoon and I'm going to scoop out a noodle or two. I don't need a lot. Just take that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over to my colander right there, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit it with a little cold water, and I'm going to bite it. I'm going to see if now that it's cooled off, I'm going to bite it and see if I like how cooked it is. And I think it's actually cooked perfect right now. Very nice. It's not too hard and chewy. It's not too soft and mushy. It's just right. So I'm very happy with how well my pasta has been cooked. So now, because I'm happy with the finished product, now I am going to turn off my pasta. So right now, I've turned off the boiling water and I've turned off the sauce. Nothing is left on the stove, and so your stove should be off. Both burners should be off on your stove too. So now, our next step is to get the pasta out of the boiling water. So what I like to do to make sure I'm nice and safe with that is I tend to try and have a cutting board near my sink. I don't try and go right from my sink, right from my stove to my sink. I try and just take the pot off the stove and I just rest it there on the cutting board. Okay? So now I'm not rushing through the process of getting it all in one shot. What I'm going to do now, make sure I'm in good position, make sure I'm not over the boiling water. I want to be a little back from it. I just want to reach now. I'm going to pour that out. And then I can let the steam lift away. We don't want to have our hands in the steam. Okay? And my pot's resting there. And everything's just resting now, letting that hot water drain away. And you can see now, I don't have any hot water in my stove here. I'm sorry, in my sink, because it just poured right down the drain. Excellent. Now, that pasta is still warm, and so I'm just going to take a little bit of cool water. I'm just going to rinse that through. Okay, rinse it through a little bit. I'm going to stir it a little bit with my spoon. Okay, good. All right, because that's going to let that pasta stop cooking, because even though it's still hot in hot water and out of the water, that hot water is still inside the pasta, so we're letting that cool down a minute to stop cooking. Now, we're just about ready to plate our meal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a bowl. Okay, get myself a bowl, and I'm going to get a spoon. Come on with me. I'm going to get myself, if my wooden spoon works, it's great. I'm going to get myself some pasta. Let's see, my wooden spoon's kind of flat, so I did get this other spoon. I think it'll work better. Yeah. Okay, so there's some pasta for me. I'm going to bring my spoon with me over here. Okay, now we'll make sure everything's off, good. And what I'm gonna do is then I'm just gonna get myself some sauce with some meatballs. So put some sauce on there with my spoon. And remember I said 3 meatballs each person, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. And so now there's my pasta with sauce with meatballs. Now remember we made a salad, so I'm gonna make a little. I'm gonna take a bowl. I'm going to take a little bit of salad out of here. Okay. Same thing, same technique, the claw technique, same as the arcade game. Drop that in there. Okay. So now, there you go. Pasta with sauce and meatballs, a little side salad. Bon appetit.